So tell me the story about the box. Where did this come from?
The box came from my daughter. She made it for me for a surprise because she knows I love Barbie and I've always seen these boxes on Google. And I said, I wonder where all these girls get them from. And she said, I'm going to make you one.
And that's your daughter Darren, who's here somewhere, isn't she? There she is. Hello.
Hello. Enough about a box. What about you, Kerry, wanting to make yourself Barbie? When did you decide to do that?
I've always loved Barbie, and I remember looking at the dolls when I was really, really young, and I always knew I wanted to look like that, but growing up I was bullied and it really forced me to change my appearance even more. I didn't like the way I looked in any way, so, you know, I used to get hate and I was physically bullied, mentally bullied, and it just forced me really to take that next step. And
was that bullying about the way you looked, Kerry?
It was, yeah.
Why?
I had no boobs. Girls at school would be mean and say I didn't have no boobs. They all had boyfriends and I didn't, and they said it was because I had no boobs.
But Kerry, I can understand that, and I would see how maybe you want to amend yourself or enhance yourself in some way. But because you choose such a recognisable figure, isn't there a danger that you continue to draw ridicule to yourself by being Barbie? You just didn't become a different version of Kerry Miles. You became Barbie.
I wanted to change my look completely. I didn't like my look as Kerry at all. So I just went for the plunge and went quite extreme.
So tell us what you've actually done to yourself. Obviously, we've never seen you before and how you looked then, but it's kind of from top to toe. What procedures have you had?
I started off having tans, hair extensions, nails, fake eyelashes, eyebrows, more expensive makeup to enhance it because they say it will, you know, give you the better look. But that wasn't enough, so then I moved on to non-surgical facelifts, different skin products. I then started Botox, fillers.
Do you tell the doctors or the practitioners, not just that you want the procedure, that you want to look like Barbie doll?
I do, yeah.
And what do they say to that?
Some laugh, some say we're not going to do you where you look over the top. I mean, I've even been turned away from clinics because I want my lips really big and they've said no way, they're not going to do it.
But your lips are really big.
They've shrunk a bit at the moment and they're due another top up.
And obviously you had a breast enlargement. I mean, you're very petite and very, very slim and petite. So how many sizes up have you gone?
I went from a 30 to A/B, and then I'm between now a 30 F to a H, depending on where I buy my bras.
And Barbie has got notoriously a tiny, tiny waist. So are you naturally like that, or do you have to really work out in the gym?
I've always been slim, but I'm training to do the bikini modelling, so I'm in the gym every day.
So tell us about your day. So when you get up in the morning, what's an average day for you? To look like this, what do you do? What's your routine?
I have a jacuzzi in the morning. I have a facial with all my electric face brushes. I have an ice facial, which sort of tightens everything up.
Every day you're doing that?
Yeah.
Wow.
I obviously have breakfast, go out with my dogs, and my daughter will go running. My daughter doesn't come on the long runs with me.
But here's the thing, you see, a lot of people have no difficulty with what you're doing, but they do have difficulty because you want your daughter to be a Barbie doll as well.
Only if she wants to. I mean,
Right.
I'd love someone to be the same as me and, you know, then we could share that thing, but she's free to do whatever she likes.
That's Bethany. I said it's here. Bethany's here. She's 13. What does she think of this? I mean, does she not think people are laughing at you sometimes? Because at 13 you're very conscious, aren't you, of what people think?
She knows that there's haters out there. She knows that there's people that support it. She was bullied herself, so she knows how important it is to be yourself and be free to be whoever you want to be.
Then are you not almost saying, well, you're not perfect as yourself, because you're saving money for her, aren't you?
Yeah.
To say, well, you can have something if you want it. But is that almost, Kerry, like saying, you know, you have to be perfect, you know, you're not perfect as you are?
No. If people want to be, like, untouched in life, they can, if they're happy with that. But if they want the surgery, then also they're free to do that as well.
And what about your husband, Darren? What does he make of this?
He says he liked me better before. He doesn't really like the plastic, but I like it and I love me now and I didn't love me before.
So if he said stop, what would you do?
Divorce.
You divorce him?
Get straight to the solicitor, yeah.
So this look is more important than your marriage?
It is, yeah, because all my life I've done as I'm told and, you know, been bullied into saying yes or no, I won't do that. And I just woke up one day and took the plunge and thought, I'm going to do what I want to
So
do
you
now.
found
And are you
confidence.
happy, Carrie? Are you happy?
Very happy.
Very happy?
Yeah.
And do you do appearances and things?
Yeah.
Barbie? Right,
Yeah.
very good. Well, Barbie, thank you for coming out of your
Thank you,
box
Carrie.
Thank
to
you.
be with us today.
Thank you for
really
having me.
appreciate it.
When did they start?
This seizures when he was a baby. They started at 8 months old.
And then how did they progress? Because they had
Initially, they weren't.
Gap, didn't they?
We were having reasonable gaps. We were having about 8 months, so he was having them every 8 months. And whilst traumatic, we were coping with that, and we were beginning with lots of medication and things. When he turned 4, they just got really bad, and they were every 3 weeks for the whole of last winter.
And that's the problem. Every time he has a seizure now, it does end up in a
He's
hospital
in status.
stay.
He's in what's called status, which means that he will constantly have seizures unless he gets treatment, and we have to take him to hospital. So he's always in hospital for at least 2 or 3 days.
And treatment options. You have gone through many different types of medication,
Yeah.
trying to find the one thing that
Yeah.
seems to work. And at the moment, nothing's
Nothing's
touching
worked.
him.
He's been on a lot of anti-epileptics, and I've always said, you know, it doesn't come easy to any mother to give their child drugs. You know, that none of these have got clinical trials. They're all on anecdotal evidence. I'm happy to be advised, and I will give my child drugs if he's seizure-free, but he's never been seizure-free other than a few months here and there. But I think that's just a genetic disorder. I don't think that the drugs have ever really worked, and he's getting really nasty side effects.
This treatment, which on the outside sounds controversial. I mean, you're under a neurologist at Great Ormond Street Hospital,
And at Birmingham Children's Hospital,
They
yes.
won't discuss it because it's illegal in this country.
Medical cannabis is illegal. CBD oil is not, but medical cannabis is what's got THC in, which is what is they call it psychoactive. It's what makes you feel high. So that's illegal in this country. I think it's quite controversial. I do think those laws need to be looked at, because obviously morphine is a hallucinogen, and they give children that all the time. So, you know, but that's why it's illegal, yes. And we have tried to discuss, and I don't have a problem with the doctors because they are bound by protocol. You know, they're doing their jobs. But I would just like, I feel that the conversation should be had at this point where we are at the end of the line.
Well, we've listened to the impact this is having on his life, on your life as a family. So it must be incredibly frustrating when you do your own research and you look online, and in Amsterdam or in America, where children, adults are using this, it is making a big difference.
Yeah, it is.
And a huge difference. I mean, it's making a difference to the point where it's either having a huge reduction or a total, complete reduction.
I mean, that's the thing. I'm not silly. I know that some people try CBD or medical cannabis and they become worse. You know, like all drugs, some people are affected well, some people are not. You know, my child may try this and it may not work, but I have made contact with a lot of people in America and in Canada and in Ireland where people are using these drugs with support, which I think is really important, and they are getting results, like you say, to either reduce the seizures a lot or completely seizure-free, which would be unimaginable, actually.
Can you go to Ireland? Can you go to...
Yes, I mean, we could go to the US. It's very expensive, and you can't bring the oil back with you from America. So if you find an oil that works, you can't bring it back with you. We could go to somewhere like Holland, and we could source a neurologist, and we could source a pharmacist very easily in Holland, but my son is too ill to go anywhere. I mean, we've brought him to London and he's had a seizure, and that's the thing. We're planning minute to minute. At the moment, we can't plan in the future.
Can you buy it online?
You can buy CBD oil online. You can buy things like Charlotte's Web or Haley's Hope, which are regulated in America, and they are used well for some children. And yes, I could buy it. It's very expensive, but I could buy it.
How much is it?
For a 100ml bottle, £300.
But you don't want to do that because you want someone,
I
a
feel
doctor.
that I want support because obviously my son's very ill, and if I give him anti-epileptics, they go through the liver, which is where CBD oil goes through, and the receptors in the liver, you know, the same receptors are used. If you're not careful, those drugs can become toxic in the body because it makes the drugs even stronger.
I completely sympathise with where you're coming from. We've had a really long chat about this. But at the same time, I don't want to give people false hope. And we need to put it into perspective as well for everybody that's watching. So we are talking about a very specific type of epilepsy or types. They're very severe. The genetic ones, they're intractable seizures, so they're really, really hard to treat. Sometimes they're not possible to treat, and about a third of adults and children will have this type of epilepsy, and Alfie's got a very specific type. There is some research going into the ingredients that are in cannabis, particularly something called CBD, and there is some research and some studies that show it could have potential therapeutic effect, but they are initial studies, as we know. There is a signal there, but what we need now is rigorous, high-quality studies, because we need to know, well, what dose should we use? Is it safe? How long should you burn it for?
Can't you
What
tap into the
interaction
studies
does it
that have been done in Amsterdam and in America?
But that's the thing, they're only preliminary studies. There's not any what we call randomised controlled studies, which is what we really need if we're going to recommend something.
You said that this is in contravention of his human rights.
Well, it is. I mean, I was talking to my sister yesterday, and what he goes through, you wouldn't allow an animal to go through what he goes through. We have to hold him down, we have to put needles into him, he is screaming, he's not disabled in the fact that he doesn't know what's going on. He knows what's going on, he's very bright, he's very clever, and me and his dad have to hold him. It's not right that it is allowed to happen.
So there must be, surely, Ranj, I mean, this is it for years then for them?
Well, no, this is an area that is actively being looked at. It really is being looked at, and I'm glad it's being looked at, because we can't just dismiss things at face value just because of history and things like that. But we have to be really, really careful and make sure we are doing the right thing for the right people and we are doing it carefully and safely.
Yeah.
When we talk about
Tough
sourcing
choice.
your own CBD oil and things like that, just be really careful, because you don't know what you're getting.
Yeah.
But we are desperate. We are desperate to make our son well and give him a life that he deserves. And I have a daughter who's 2.5. She's impacted by it. You know, I can't take her to play groups, I can't take her anywhere because I'm looking after my son all the time, and it's not right.
Thanks for watching. Click here for more This Morning videos.
How did you end up on benefits?
Well, it didn't just happen. There were a series of events, and I was a teacher for a long time. And unfortunately, my partner had a breakdown. He'd been in the army, and it was quite a serious one. He was sectioned, and we left the village that we were in and returned back to London. And my children had PTSD. My youngest was very ill. She's had health problems. So, you know, on the face of it, it does look like I just walked out of my job. But, you know, there were serious reasons behind that.
So, I mean, the number 4 features quite heavily. Four-bedroom house, 4 children, 4 different fathers. And you say that you, the thing with you is you feel unapologetic in the fact that you've been led in down this path.
Absolutely. There is a real stigma with benefits, there really is. But I think, you know, everybody is closer to being at rock bottom than they possibly think, unless they've got a lot of savings or rich parents. And, you know, I am proud to say that I'm on benefits because
I think that's the thing, though, isn't it? That's the thing that I think people at home might struggle to come to terms with, because when you say you hit rock bottom and you've talked about the gifts that your children got at Christmas or whatever, to a lot of people out there who are struggling to make ends meet at Christmas or, you know, can't afford to buy their children those kind of gifts, and that perhaps are working, they might feel, well, hang on a minute, that's not rock bottom.
Well, we did, I mean, I did pay a lot in tax. I've always had a very high income. So I do feel that I paid my way. I don't intend to stay on benefits.
And you're looking for another job?
I've actually been headhunted for a sales position, which, if it fits around the children, I will take that. But when I say I'm proud to live in a country where we do have a benefit system. My children and I may have been split up. You know, desperate things could have happened. And I used to be the person who would look down on people on benefits. I was that person who would be snooty. And now I see the world in a completely different way. And I'm proud to say that we do have the NHS, we do have the benefit system.
How have people viewed you then? If you used to look down, have they looked down upon you?
Gosh, yes. We've had quite a lot of internet bullying. I've had bullying to my face. My children have had bullying. You know, it has been difficult. When I first moved, I didn't tell anybody I was on benefits. I'm a writer, so I just use the self-employed. But then when I came out, there was a backlash. People I'd known for years sort of moved away. And I'm thinking, well, you know, why is it like that, the stigma? Because my children have got different fathers as well. That seems to be a real issue. But if I was a man, you know, they're very spaced apart. In every relationship I went in thinking I was going to get married and things happened, you know, and I couldn't have predicted the last relationship.
And you've got
So
4 fantastic children.
They're wonderful.
However, and this is the rub, the thing is that everything, you're very eloquent, and everything you've said, I think a lot of people will understand. You know, there's no need to be apologetic. That's why benefits are there. You could have saved some of that money for the future education of your children, or something that was a little bit worthwhile. Some would see perhaps the husky puppies as they're going to get very big, very expensive and all that sort of stuff. That money could have been spent elsewhere, but they're lovely family pets. Of course you're entitled to do all of that. What you said, and it quite frankly got my back up, was that you got your £10 Christmas bonus, which I'm not sure a lot of people on benefits actually realise they can actually have their £10 Christmas bonus. With that £10 Christmas bonus, you bought 2 bottles of Prosecco. You are entitled, of course, to do that. Then you said, so cheers to the taxpayer for my extra £10 gift. And that is incendiary.
Well, it was a gift, and I spent it on Prosecco. Now,
Yeah,
I don't drink it very often.
It's not the fact you bought the Prosecco, it's the fact you went, cheers, thank you for buying this for me.
I am grateful that I got that.
But do you not think that
Prosecco.
that's a little bit incendiary?
So say, put yourself back into the you that is taxpayer.
I would have been angry with that.
Yeah, but so what? But
absolutely.
so now you're in the other position, on the other side.
I mean, being a single mum, Philip, you know, my children are very, very spread out. I don't have parents or grandparents. I
How
work
old are your
very
kids?
hard. 3, 10, 14 and 19. By day, I'm a mum. When my children go to bed, I'm a writer. I've got books coming out. I work very, very hard. So I don't get a chance to go out and go to the pub. And I don't drink Prosecco very often because it's got adverse effects. But I wanted to actually celebrate.
Well, it maybe makes you say stuff that you shouldn't say.
Maybe, yes. But I enjoyed it and I'm grateful for that.
But that's not the way it sounds. It doesn't sound like that. It's not thank you so much, I'm grateful for what I have. It's cheers, and there you go, look what I've just bought with your money.
I had a glass of Prosecco at the time.
When you said it, do you wish you hadn't said it?
Well, we can't go back in time, can we? But I stick by it. I am proud to have been caught by the benefits system. And as soon as I go back to work, I think if anybody else is in the situation that we're in, you know, yes, we can live a little. Not a lot, but we can live a little.
If you enjoyed that, there's more of the same right here. And make sure you subscribe so that you never miss the best moments from this morning. And I don't want to dwell too much on the day when he took his own life. And that morning, and he was meant to be getting the bus to school, and he didn't go. And
he was meant to be catching the train, and he didn't get to school, and the school called me and said that somebody had seen him getting off a bus in a local village. And I knew that he knew some people in that village, so I thought that because he'd been upset, and I thought maybe he'd gone to speak to this friend he had there, so we went to look for him.
And yeah, no, that's fine. We know what happened the rest of that day.
Had you had no inkling that day
No.
that that's what he would do? And if for anybody, and I'm going to have to say it for anybody who missed it, but he threw himself in front of the train.
Yeah.
But there was no indication, nothing that had said that any day was going to be any sadder than the day before.
No, and we talked, you know, in a general sense about suicide before. And he'd said to me, I don't worry, Mum, I'd never do that because I'm not brave enough.
Oh, gosh.
This was April the 16th this year, so it's still so incredibly raw for you and your family.
Yeah.
Which is why you wrote the letter.
Yeah, it's been running around in my head for, you know, every time I take the dog for a walk, the words were in my head. And I desperately need to raise awareness. I desperately need for people to talk about this, to talk to their children, for teachers to train, for parents to, you know, guide their children through all this stuff that they find and look at. And they, you know, they have the physical and mental know-how how to find everything, but they haven't got the emotional maturity to interpret it.
To cope with it as well.
And it's frightening.
In your letter, there was the word that is repeated all the way through, and you talk about a lot, is kindness.
Yeah, it's really simple. Just be kind. It's sort of a thing that I think we're missing in our teaching and our talking. You know, it's very cool to be snappy and hit with the banter, but not to be kind. And I found something that just resonated with me. You know, is it true? Is it necessary? And is it kind? Before you write anything down, because once it's written down, it's there.
Well, you say there's something that I picked up on. I've been told that everyone says things they don't mean on social media. Unkindness is dismissed as banter, and because they cannot see the effect of their words, they don't believe that there is one.
Yeah.
And do you believe that that great swathe of bullies, individually small things, collectively enormous, crushing for him, do you think they knew what they were doing to him?
I think a lot of them didn't. To be fair, I don't think a lot of them did. I think it was just they get carried away, you know, on Facebook groups. Things turn into a hate fest very easily. Just one person says something a bit nasty and it rolls and it becomes this huge thing. But I think they switch off their computer and don't think about it anymore. And when I drew it to the attention of somebody, this is what I got. Everyone says what they don't mean on social media. And possibly that person didn't, but you don't know the impact of your words, and actions and words have consequences.
Can I just ask you, and this is a tough one, I don't even know whether you'll be able to answer it, but retrospectively, for other parents watching now, is there anything you think, looking back, that you missed, that you could have done?
It's very difficult because Felix was resistant to the changes I wanted to make. I wanted him to move schools. We'd even contemplated moving cities, thinking fresh start, get away. But that would have made him lose even more confidence. He just dug in his heels and said, no, I'm not doing it, I'm not doing it. You know, why would you do that to me? I wish I talked more. I wish I'd shouted from the rooftops what was happening and made people listen and pay attention. But you feel isolated, you feel you're on your own. And it's only afterwards I've had letters, I've had cards, I've had messages from so many parents, so many children who are saying, thank you for talking, thank you for speaking out. And, you know, this is something we have to talk about. We have to all collectively bring this up.
You're working very closely with Place to Be, the charity, and that's what they're there for.
Yes, they bring help into schools. This is what we're missing. There's no safe place for kids to be. They come in and support children. They support teachers as well. You know, we're not expecting teachers to be psychotherapists, but they can help direct. They can help spot signs. They have a massive overview of all the kids, and they can see that one's struggling, that one's not being very nice. Why are they not being very... I don't want children punished. I want them helped. Yes. And Place to Be does that. It supports children, teachers and parents. And, you know, we've raised over £14,500 so far.
Well done, you.
Which means something for lots of children.
I mean, it's such a new world for teachers. It's a new world because they have the use of social media, the benefits of social media, the threat of social media, the pitfalls, all of those things are new. And as you said, the young people have access to it, but not necessarily the wherewithal to cope with what it is that they're seeing or to deal with any abuse that they may be having. So it is a whole new world that needs addressing.
It's a very steep learning curve.
really steep learning curve and we're way behind.
There's no big incident where we go, well, this is terrible.
No.
Oh, you can go report this to the teacher.
No.
It's the small, little, tiny things that over a time
It's like death by
erodes
1,000
him.
cuts.
Oh,
isn't it?
absolutely, absolutely, and it just became progressively worse.
Now, it was the big story which came out of the NTAs last night. ITV drama, Mr Bates versus the Post Office, quite rightly swept the night, taking home 3 of the big awards.
As we know, the drama had a huge impact on the struggles faced by hundreds of postal workers. But when former sub-postmaster Jo Hamilton took to the stage last night, she revealed there's lots more work to be done.
I want to say thank you to all my colleagues who are behind me, who, without strength in numbers, we wouldn't have got to where we are. And the public got behind us and changed, literally changed everything. I went to Westminster a couple of weeks back and saw the new minister, and trust me, nothing has changed. And almost all of these people behind me haven't been paid yet, including Sir Alan Bates. So when he comes back to the nation for help, please be there to support him.
Wow, what an incredible... Jo, I have to take my hat off to you. You were so eloquent and everybody in that room was behind you. You did the most amazing job up there.
Well, when you listen back, you think, ooh, did I do that?
You really did do that.
Oh, you did do that.
Yeah.
Live in front of 15,000 people there and millions watching at home, Jo. And I think one of the things, and obviously we were thrilled that Mr Bates versus the Post Office did so well last night and was recognised for what it managed to do. And the point of the drama that was so exciting at the time, I'm sure from your perspective, was there seemed to be a real push for change. The government had seen what had happened, the government at the time, Rishi Sunak stood up and said, we will look after you, we'll exonerate those that were given prison sentences, and we will pay out this compensation. And it wasn't until you spoke last night so brilliantly and eloquently, it became apparent that that just hasn't been happening.
No, it hasn't happened. The government keep pushing out. We've paid out £230 million. They push out huge numbers and they blind the public, really. But the fact of the matter is the bulk of our group that fought, and we've been together since 2009, we went through the High Court and won in 2 big trials in 2019. That's 5 years ago, and we've still not been paid. You know, I settled at 80% because it took 3 years, must have cost more than they ever paid me to actually get 80% of my claim.
That is one of the extraordinary things. You were saying that they've said that they've settled £230 million, but your estimates on how much they've spent fighting these claims is how much?
Well, there was a Freedom of Information request which ended in March, so it will be much higher than that. But they've spent £260 million paying out £230 million. I mean, really,
extraordinary.
You know, why they can't simplify everything and just get people paid, I don't know.
Well, I think that was one of the frustrations, actually, that came across so brilliantly in your speech, was that it's like nothing has been done. The same thing has just happened. What would you like to see happen?
Well, I mean, the ministers come and go. We've had lots of ministers. But the guys behind the scene in the departments, they've been there throughout all of this, and we've seen the shenanigans that's been going on at the inquiry, you know, and we're dealing with the same people. It's almost like the fox is in charge of the hen house. It's, you know, that's what we're up against.
So one of the last rulings you had was that everyone would have been paid by, am I right in saying July 2024?
August.
August.
In March 2022, they said all of us would be paid by August 2024. So then when it got close to August, they said, oh, we'll extend the deadline because we don't want a handful of people that might... Because apparently it's in law that we all had to be paid by then. So they extended the deadline to August 2025 and nobody's been paid. And that gave them another year to mess around.
They extended their own deadline. How generous were they extending deadlines to you and the other fellow sub-postmasters when they were demanding payment of this money that had seemingly gone missing?
Yeah, I mean, we had to put it in by the morning. I mean,
so there was no extension of deadlines
regardless of the size of it, no extension.
So what is Alan Bates's plan that you mentioned there in the speech?
Well, he will go back to court and, you know, and take them on again, which is also it shouldn't have to happen.
No.
You know, it will cost the government an absolute fortune, but we won't have to go to litigation funders this time because I'm sure the nation will get behind him and support him through court, or support the group through court.
Yeah.
Because he'll take everyone else being messed around. You know, because you saw the people there last night, and I think the oldest lady is 91, Betty. You know, I mean, for goodness sake, why can't they just, if a claim is reasonable, pay it? Why do they have to have all the I's dotted? Oh, they want reports, they want medical health reports. I mean, it's just...
You've been through it.
Yeah, they're making it as
Just give you the money that you've been waiting for and you deserve. So the new Post Office Minister, Gareth Thomas, you've met Gareth Thomas. Do you feel more hopeful that he's a new minister, it's a new government, that... No?
No, because he's actually not running the show. The department is. The Department of Business and Trade, the civil servants. They're in charge of the scheme. And they've just awarded their lawyers another £10 million contract to advise them going forward. I mean, they speak about 10 million, like we'd speak about a tenner. It's like, oh, 10 million. It's like, that's because it's not their money.
No.
It's our money.
Yes.
Jo, what hope do you have for this?
I have every hope in Alan, but it really shouldn't be necessary. You know, why we can't just all sort it out. Get rid of it, clear it off the books, you know, because we won't go away until... We'd all shut up and go away if they just sort it.
Yeah.
My right of reply is over there on the desk if you need me to go and get it and read it out. Let me go and grab it. Excuse me, 2 seconds. No, you probably could have.
I bet
You'll
you
know exactly what they've
what
said.
they're going to say, right? And
this
it's going to be all dressed up in language.
So this is what the government have said, the Department for Business Trade spokesman. We recognise the immeasurable suffering postmasters have endured and they have waited too long to receive redress. That's why we're working tirelessly across the government to bring them some relief with full, fair and swift redress.
Swift.
We've already paid out 289 million.
Next year.
This is an interesting one to get your thoughts on. We've already paid out over £289 million to over 2,800 people across 4 redress schemes. We've also made 253 offers and introduced a new compensation scheme to speed up redress for those with overturned convictions. Those 253 offers, just explain the offer that Sir Alan Bates has received.
Well, his first offer came back at less than 15%.
15.15?
Yeah, and he refused it, and it went back, and they upped it to 30%. You know, I mean, for goodness sake.
30% of the compensation.
Trashed decades of your life.
Yes.
And they think they can get away.
4 people lost their lives.
Yeah.
Like, it's not something you get back.
And they'll hide behind the idea that they've made 253 offers, but when the offers are that derisory at 30%, of course they're going to get sent back.
And some of the offers in the historical shortfall scheme, they were unrepresented. They fell into the arms of Post Office, filled out forms, and they got peanuts back. And they can tick the box and say they've settled it.
Wow.
Jo, I'm so sorry that you're still having to battle. You've still got the public support. You heard that last night.
That's one thing for sure.
You heard it. I just want to... Were you able to enjoy the evening at all?
Oh, it was magical, really magical, including Ollie Mers, who stood behind us all and had a photograph because he thought we were the heroes.
You are the heroes.
Sure.
You absolutely are the heroes, and you deserve to have that moment of recognition, and you will undoubtedly have this huge momentum of support going forward as well. We will be supporting you at every step of the way, Jo. You don't deserve to be treated like this. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming in. OK, let's talk to Nick now, and let's see. Nick, how eloquent is Jo?
Well, what Jo and all the others need to know, Kat, is that we picked up on this because I was with you, as you know, last night, and I threw it open to the listeners. So, Jo, be in no doubt. The listeners are absolutely... They share your fury, the power of your speech. What you did brilliantly is you went from cheers to jeers, because everyone was cheering what you and your colleagues had achieved, and the actors as well, and everybody was cheering. And your timing was superb, because they were... And then suddenly you dropped the bombshell. I remind you of the numbers. 555 victims, more than 300 not had an offer. Sir Alan, 30%. And suddenly it dawned on the audience the treatment that you've been receiving, and that's when the jeers and the boos started. So if you take anything away, apart from the magical night, I'm sorry I didn't get to actually meet you. I spoke with one of your colleagues down in Cornwall, who you probably know well, Penny, who couldn't be with you, so she was on my show today, and the calls absolutely flooded in. So as Ben was saying, as Kat was saying, be in no doubt. The public are ready. If it takes Mr. Bates, Sir Alan versus the Post Office Part 2, we are all going to be here for you. Be in no doubt of that at all. So well done to you.
Thank you very much. Well done, Jo.
Thank you, Jo. You can go and get some sleep now as well, because I know you had a lovely late night.
Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out, and we'll see you in the morning. Now, this morning, we're joined by a familiar face. Do you remember Muggley? Oh, look at Muggley, there he is. He joined us a couple of years back when he was crowned the world's ugliest dog.
Well, sadly, earlier this year, Muggley was diagnosed with dementia, but in a bid to ensure Muggley's twilight years are filled with happy memories, his owner, Bev Nicholson, has put together a bucket list for Muggley. Now, they're both here to tell us more about it.
Hi, Bev.
Hello.
Definitely not ugly. Cute.
No, so
cute, I would
cute.
say.
I think so.
Cute.
So what's on the list? Tell us about this bucket list.
He wanted to go to we went to a beach where he had a whippy ice cream and a paddle in the sea. He sat in a fire engine.
Oh.
We've still got a few things to do. We've got to ride a Harley.
Oh, look how cute he looks in his little fireman's outfit. So where did this idea come from?
Well, I just felt that while Muggley was still able to enjoy life, I suppose, at times, then we needed to do as much as we could. And he's done so much already that we had to make them quite fun, silly, nice, you know, just to keep it as light-hearted as possible.
Now, I'm a huge animal lover. How do you... I mean, dementia in a dog is quite... Diagnosing it must be a nightmare, but...
I think it's really a process of elimination to diagnose it rather than...
Is it because he couldn't remember... Because dogs are a creature of habit, aren't they? They go back to the bowl, they go back to the bed. Yeah. Is it the fact that he didn't know...
He
confused?
sometimes gets lost in the house.
Let's let Muggley be free.
Right.
Sorry, I'm quite attracted to him. He's quite gorgeous.
He sometimes gets lost in the house. He goes to the wrong side of a door to get through it. He gets as far as his dog bed and won't step in it. He's had a few accidents of a night time when he's in a deep sleep.
So then you obviously got slightly concerned and took him to the vet.
Yes.
I think he wants to come and present the show with us, James.
Yeah, exactly.
You're more than welcome, Muggley. So, I mean, what sorts of things... Because people watching this might be concerned about their own dogs. What kind of things did you notice?
He had a blood test to rule out any diabetes and urine tests to rule out infections and things, and then you kind of put it all together and look at his behaviour. It's a behaviour analysis, really. So.
And is there any way of knowing how it affects Muggley? Because, look, he seems very chilled out here, doesn't he?
He's having a really good day. We do have a few days where he's a bit strange all day. But...
Now, you've got several things you've done on the list already.
Yes.
There are also lots of things that are still on the list to do. Visit a lighthouse, afternoon tea, bits and pieces, and also... meet Joey Essex. Is that yours or Muggley's?
No, not at
list?
all. We just thought that it would be nice for Muggley to meet somebody as equally confused about life as he is.
Well, you'll be able to tell him in person because we've agreed for you, and actually we phoned him up and he's agreed to meet you guys as well.
Really?
At a later date, yeah.
Joey Essex
So
would
there you
love
go.
to meet Muggley.
Oh, how lovely.
So,
I think it's fantastic. Well, thank you for bringing him along as well.
Yes, thank you, Bev. I think Muggley might want to just hang out with us. You chill out there.
For more of the same, just click here. And don't forget, you can subscribe for even more of these amazing videos exclusive to our channel.
She's so boring that she's perfect. She's just, this is it all the time.
That's what she does. That's what she does. And you've got her name tattooed on your calf, haven't you? Oh, look.
I'm sorry?
You've got her name tattooed on you.
For all that, though, there have been renewed calls for the introduction of graduated driving licences. This follows the very recent case of a 19-year-old who was jailed last week for causing the death of 3 teenagers just 6 weeks after passing his driving test.
Our first guest today is helping lead this campaign. Crystal Owen's 17-year-old son, Harvey, tragically lost his life in a car accident alongside his 3 friends while on a camping trip in Snowdonia. Crystal joins us now to share her story. Good morning, Crystal. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm so sorry about your loss. Can you tell us about what happened on that day back in 2023 to Harvey?
Yeah, so a few days before, Harvey told me he was going to go away with some friends that we knew from school. He'd just turned 17 a couple of weeks before, And so immediately I was like, I want to know more. He showed me a video message which confirmed that he was going to be stopping at a friend's granddad's house, a cottage in Harlech. And so, you know, everything tied up, his story did. And the two friends we thought he was going with, you know, we'd known for years. So after work on the Saturday night, he set off with what I thought was one of the parents going to this granddad's house. He texted me when he was there. The next morning, I got a picture from the view from the cottage. So everything tied up. He'd left in like a thin coat, black leather shoes, tiny little rucksack, no sign of a camping trip whatsoever. And then I went about my day after getting this message thinking, oh, he's having a lovely time. I was really happy for him to have his first weekend away with some friends. And my literal words were to my partner, what harm can he come to, you know, tucked up safe at a friend's granddad's, you know. And then my messages didn't go through, like, throughout that day, and I just put it down to Signal. And
because you're trying to text him to make sure he was OK?
Yeah, like later on in the day, and then nothing, and yeah, and then from all of this, it basically ended up with us being frantic with Rory, finding out that they'd left not long after this picture message that I'd received. They'd set off for Snowdonia, which I had no clue about. And then they were missing, basically. And our world, it was just an absolute living nightmare. We were confident that they were going to be found, but we then found out that this young boy that he'd recently met at college, who was a year older, had actually been the one that had drove them there. So I was just in a blind panic, and we went to Snowdonia, and we were just following all these false leads, and then we had the worst news any parent could ever dream of. It was just horrific. So we found out that the driver had lost control on a rural road on a bend, and all four boys, they ended up in a water-filled ditch and all lost their lives to drowning.
Can't begin to imagine how you process something like that.
I still haven't processed it. It's, yeah.
There's so many elements of this that you will have poured over and gone over with your family to try and understand, starting with why Harvey felt the need to lie to you about the trip in the first place.
I think with Harvey, he was a typical teenager. He knew I wouldn't have allowed him to go camping in winter, so he just twisted the truth. And, you know, it wasn't a terrible lie. They weren't doing anything wrong, you know. He just knew on that occasion I wouldn't have allowed. And he also knew I was a bit of a nervous wreck with him on his push bike, and I was always checking on him. So he also knew I wouldn't have allowed a young driver who I didn't know to be taking him to Wales. But this is just teenage behaviour, you know. He was the most perfect lad you could ever wish to have as a son, you know, and he just did what any teenager, we've all been there, we've all done that, you know, twisted the truth to get our freedom, basically. But sadly, this was to be his, you know, he never got to learn from this mistake, and this was to be his one and only trip away.
And the lad who was driving, it actually, he wasn't overdoing the speed limit or anything, was he? It was an accident, essentially.
Well, only a very tiny percentage of crashes are classed as an accident, so it's around 4%. So the driver is responsible, and yeah, ultimately his driving was what caused the crash. Because, and this is why we're fighting for this law, because, you know, driving on rural roads, which is the most dangerous road you can drive on, you know, young people are 70% more likely to crash on a rural road. You know, this isn't covered in their driving lessons, you know, and it's just comes with experience, you know, so a more experienced driver would know that just because a speed limit is 60, that's not a target, you know, you have to drive to the conditions, if it's been raining, etc. So that's why we're fighting with this. It's not that, you know, we're saying young men are like boy racers, we're saying that it's inexperience.
Yeah. We were talking about it, actually, in the production, weren't we?
Because my Jack is 18 and he's just passed his driving test and loves the freedom that being able to drive a car brings him, loves being able to share those journeys with his friend. Can you explain what a graduated driving licence is then, what the implication of that would mean to Jack and lots of other young people who've just passed their driving test?
Yeah, so it's been in place in many other countries for decades now and has been hugely successful. It's worked in every single country. So what we're asking for, there's many forms of a GDL, but what we're asking for is to focus on the 17 to 19-year-olds, which is the most risky age group, and we're asking for a 6-month learning period. So that could be with a logbook, etc. It doesn't have to be all paid lessons, but they need to gain valuable experience on all...
Because there is that urgency, isn't there, that when you turn 17, you want to punch through a test really quickly, so you have to learn for 6 months minimum.
Because if you think, like, somebody could have 5 lessons right now and they would never have drove in the dark, they would never have drove in the wet conditions, so that's all hugely valuable experience. And so we're just asking for 6 months learning period, and then we're asking for 6 months with no peer age passengers unless they are accompanied by an older adult, which means they'll be less likely to crash. And there would be exemptions in place for young parents and certain jobs, etc. And I think the message we need to get out is that, you know, this isn't a case, and I've heard it all, just because your son died, just because your son was an idiot, blah, blah, blah. You know, all these trolls and stuff say all this stuff, but ultimately, this is, you know, I'm not trying to punish young people. This is actually protecting them. You know, my son and his friends never, ever expected to get in that car and not come home. And I think any young person who is against this should speak to Harvey's remaining friend, who lost 3 best friends that day. You know, this is a lifetime thing. It's not, there's no restart button, you know, their lives have ended. And I think with this law as well, it would bring insurance down, you know, because at the moment, people say, you know, you're trying to restrict their freedom when actually many, you know, young people are priced out of driving because they can't afford it because of the insurance premiums, and we know that this law would bring insurance down. So it's making them drive, enabling them to drive, but in a safe way.
We also know that this law does work. It's been implicated in Australia, in New Zealand, and it's actually brought the death rate down by 83%.
That's in Canada, where it's been in place since the 1990s. I mean, this is the thing. In every single country, it's worked between 20 and 40%, depending, because every country has different elements of it. And that's what we can't understand. It's a proven method. The government keeps saying they want to look at root causes. We know the root cause, and that is brain development. So no matter what they want to put in place, nothing has been as effective as a graduated licence, nothing.
You're also campaigning for something called Harvey's Hammer as well. I mean, the part of your story that is so brutally painful is the fact that they crashed, but then tragically they died because of drowning.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I believe my son shouldn't have been able to get in that car because they're children at the end of the day. It's 17, 18, they're a child, and they shouldn't be in charge of a lethal weapon, you know, and responsible for other people's lives at such a risky period of their driving, like, you know, their driving experience. So that's my ultimate aim. However, the reason some of the road deaths have come down in young people is because of safer cars, and with that came, obviously, tougher glass windows that can't be put down in window and stuff. So in my eyes, when they did all these new safety laws, this should have just been mandatory in every car. You know, it's like having a life jacket on a boat. You don't ever expect to use it.
So if you get trapped in the car and you can't get out, there is a hammer that will smash the glass so you can...
In seconds,
evacuate if you need
and it would, I mean, it's rare that these, obviously, things are as tragic as what happened with Harvey and the boys, but in them situations, this is a matter of life and death, and they cost a few pounds, you know, it's not a big thing. It's,
So this is a second petition you're taking to Downing Street. Where are you with it, Crystal, and what do you think is going to happen?
Well, it's just frustration all the way, really. We've got over 100,000 signatures on this petition. We actually had a parliamentary debate with over 30 MPs turned up. Only 2 were sort of against it. You know, everybody else was urging the government, saying this is long overdue. We've got the RAC backing it, the AA backing it. There was 99 organisations signed the PACS manifesto, which included graduated licences. We've got every behavioural psychologist in the country urging the government to do this. We've got decades' worth of research and evidence, and we are just at an absolute loss at why this is not being put in place.
Have you managed to speak to the Transport Secretary?
I've had a meeting with the Roads Minister, with the previous Roads Minister and this Roads Minister, and we were hopeful that this government were going to do more, but we're still waiting on the road safety strategy. And they keep saying, like I say, that they're going to look at root causes. And I think anybody, again, who questions this law should just spend some time looking into brain development of young people. You know, telling a teenager is not always enough, you know, when people say, oh, educate your kids. Nobody ever expects it to be them. You know, no parent ever expects it to be their child. And with Harvey, I mean, this generally was the last thing on my mind at the time. You know, he was just turned 17. We had, as far as we knew, had not a single friend who'd passed the test. You know, he only had one friend who was taking some lessons. You know, we never, ever expected him to have a friend who was drove and for this to happen.
Well, Crystal, thank you for coming in and sharing your story. Best of luck with the petition, and hopefully you get something back from the government. Regardless, at least it gives you somewhere to go, because it is really apparent, and I know that my kids have both passed their driving tests. We just want to keep them safe.
Yeah.
And if you don't want anyone to go through what you've all been through.
That's the thing. There's nothing more restrictive than death, and my son has lost his life, as many others. And I think when people realise that, like, 95 people every week are killed or seriously injured as a result of a young driver, and they hold less percentage of driving licences, they drive less miles than any other age group, that's a huge number.
Yes.
And, you know, when you know that there's a solution just there, ready, that would work, it's madness. It's madness that this has not been put in place.
Thank you for coming in today,
Chris.
Chris. It was lovely
Thank
to
you
meet
so much.
Oh, hello. Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.
Now.
Tell us more.
I will. Our next guests have been inseparable since they were toddlers.
Yeah, Georgia and Daisy from Kent have always shared everything with each other, and now they are sharing a pregnancy.
Yeah, best friends Georgia Barrington and Daisy Hope are with us now to explain more. Welcome, you two.
Yeah, welcome.
It's just such a love fest, though. I love the story so much. I cried when I read it about it.
Oh. So how long have you been friends then, Georgia?
Forever, really. Our dads are best friends, so we've been brought up together.
Yeah.
And we didn't see each other that much kind of growing up because we didn't live super close, but then kind of since teenage years and
inseparable.
Yeah, we've just been
I love
that bit closer.
And Georgia, when you were really young, you got diagnosed with a very rare condition. Tell us a little bit about that.
So it's called MRKH, and it basically means that I was born without a uterus. There's a couple of different types of it, but
you've got ovaries.
Got ovaries, yes. So yeah, found out when I was about 15. And yeah, at the time it was obviously very upsetting.
Well, you were quite young, but it was devastating because you've always wanted to have children, haven't you? You've always wanted to be a mom.
Yeah.
In comes your mate, who's 15 years old at the time.
Yeah.
And Daisy, you, without hesitation, said, you know what, you can borrow my womb.
Well, because I just knew how much it meant to George, and if anyone deserves to be a mum, it's her. And I just knew in that moment that I just wanted her to be OK, and, you know, that she was going to, like, live her teenage years knowing that it wasn't the end of the world.
But what I love about this is you said this when you're 15, which is like, of course you said this when you're 15 because you're a good friend when you're 15, right? But to actually, you know, fast forward to now, and did you write a letter, I think, when you were 15?
I can't remember if I wrote a letter, but I got a letter back from George that said, you know, saying that you would carry my child for me. I'm so grateful. And even if it doesn't happen, like, just having you by my side is enough. And
so nice.
Yeah.
She was probably there writing fan mail to take that or something.
Actually,
when I've got to write one to Daisy. It's such a nice story.
Yeah.
So when did you decide for this to happen? Because it's been a while in the making, isn't it?
So it's been years and years. So obviously we first spoke about this about a decade ago now, over a decade ago. But then it sort of wasn't something we spoke about again. We carried on with our lives, we partied, we had fun. And then it wasn't until I met my partner, Ollie, and fell in love and had Amelia, that when she came into the world, I just thought, oh, my goodness, like, Georgia needs to experience this.
And what's so lovely is, Georgia, you decided your career path was to be a midwife.
Yeah.
You actually delivered Amelia. You was the midwife at the time.
Yeah.
That must have been just beautiful.
Oh,
Your best friend delivering a baby.
It was the best day at work ever. And it just felt like we were hanging out, didn't it?
That's because I had an epidural.
It was a lovely day.
Yeah,
this is great.
Burger King.
And then there was a baby at the end, so it's lovely.
And then, so did you get in touch with her? Were you at home one day and got the phone?
No, so we just went for coffee afterwards because me and George obviously would just hang out all the time, and she was always there helping me with Amelia and everything, and she's been amazing throughout my journey into motherhood. And we just went for a Costa, I think, and I just said, look, I want you to know the offer still stands. If you want to experience this, let's look into it. Like, I'm here for you. And we did. We started it sort of pretty soon after that.
It would be great if it was the other way around and you suddenly get that call and go, about that letter you...
Yeah, do you remember that?
So the wheels went into motion. You started having IVF.
Yeah. Yeah, so with Amelia, it was, I was very lucky and blessed that it was a very smooth and natural pregnancy. Didn't have to have any sort of IVF or anything. And then obviously for Georgia and Lloyd's baby, because it's their embryo, nothing to do with me, there was a lot of IVF. I was lucky enough to not have injections, but I did have to have medication, didn't I?
Yeah.
For quite a while.
So I suppose, Georgia, you was a little bit more hesitant in the sense that you had quite a lot of medical knowledge.
Yeah.
So you knew what her body was going to go through.
Yeah.
And what it entailed.
Yeah, and I always, when she first offered it and I knew I wanted to be a midwife, I'd always said, I want you to complete your family before you do anything like this for me, just in case there was anything to happen. But Daisy, kind of just the amazing person she is, always just said, I'd rather us both have one than me have two and you have none.
Oh, gosh,
so,
I could cry.
I know.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful friendship that you have.
How are both your partners? What do they both think?
Oh, they're amazing. Yeah, it's
and
so funny.
They
It's
do
just
think
funny,
it's
isn't it?
amazing. I think Lloyd initially, you know, it's quite a hard thing to wrap your head around that someone else is having your baby. But I think because he's so close to you and we're all like such good friends, yeah, he thinks it's amazing.
Great.
Yeah, we just feel so lucky.
Yeah, Ollie's been so supportive. I honestly couldn't do any of this without him. He is the best thing that's ever happened to me, and he gave me beautiful Amelia, and yeah, we're so lucky.
So fast forward, the first egg donation, it worked.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, sadly, he did lose that pregnancy and he miscarried. Yeah. So you then tried again.
Yeah.
But that one worked. And that's the one which
This is
we
the
have
one.
right now.
The one, yeah.
So how many weeks are you now?
We are 26 weeks on Sunday. We were just saying on the way up, we're losing count, aren't we?
Yeah,
all gone
it's
so
going
quickly,
really quick
but-
now.
Georgia, are you like really protective of Daisy? You're like, excuse me, can you stand back? It's very important.
Yeah, everyone just can't
Oh,
go.
no.
Yeah.
It's just surreal, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
So when this baby's born, I'm so interested in everything. Will you start breastfeeding? Because are you taking medication?
Yeah, so I'm going to induce lactation. So I've started taking medication from when she was about 8 weeks pregnant, and then it's quite a hard process and quite a lot of work, but it will be worth it. From about 32, 33 weeks pregnant, I then start pumping kind of around the clock until the baby's
And you've just got to
here.
keep doing it.
Yeah, just to stimulate, and then hopefully the baby will feed straight after delivery.
It's amazing what our bodies can do.
I know.
Yeah,
Amazing.
it's crazy.
What about your daughter? Have you explained, like, it's just a friend?
Yeah,
Not
oh,
your
it's
brother-
absolutely
not
just
your
a
sister
friend.
or brother?
I think Amelia is more than happy with just being our only one. She loves it. She runs the roost, doesn't she? Bless
Yeah.
her. But yeah, we've just always said this is going to be your best friend. Like, would you like Gigi to have a baby? She knows that Mummy's carrying Gigi's baby. We're very open. We were open from the beginning. Sadly, when we miscarried, we did have to just sort of navigate that by going very quiet for a little while. So for Amelia, poor Amelia, Mummy has been pregnant for about a year now.
Yeah, she thinks this baby's been
been a
cooking
long
for a long time.
Yeah.
You're not used to when you aren't pregnant, right?
Yeah.
And so how is it going to work when you have... So you can't deliver the baby, can you? Like, you can't
No,
feed them.
so I'm not gonna. I will
You're
be
too
off
invested.
work. Yeah, no, there's too much to think about, and I want to be there to support Daisy as like a birth partner and kind of prepare myself to become a mum, really.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're going to have one of my close colleagues look after us, and then you know, if it's all going well and it looks like the baby's just going to pop out, then I might pop some gloves on and just catch the baby
Fingers
at
crossed.
the end. I can't catch everyone else's baby and not my own.
What a lovely
Isn't it?
story of friendship. And have you got these bracelets as well?
Yeah,
So
we
when
haven't
the
got them
baby
on
kicks-
today,
So we're
but
charging.
So when the baby kicks, you'll press it, Daisy.
And then
and
Georgie
you'll
gets the
feel it.
buzz.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
too much.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know exactly what's happening at all times.
Yeah.
But you're feeling them kick now, aren't
Oh,
you? So
yeah.
it's-
This
yeah.
morning on the way up here, having a party.
Yeah.
I think they knew
Obviously
they were
the
going to be on
nerves.
telly.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, this is so good.
Lovely,
I
isn't
can't wait. Will you stay in touch with us?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
send us lots of pictures. I suppose
Yeah.
it's going to be online because
Well, we share it. I share it on my TikTok. We shared like the whole journey.
I mean that's
so
blown
far.
up, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's
How
how
this
it
all
kind
happened,
of
right?
it all happened.
You've on
yeah.
the show.
It's the reason why she's sitting on this
Yeah.
sofa.
It is good old TikTok.
That's a
Very
tick in the
surreal.
top.
I love a bit of TikTok. Oh, thank you so much for joining
Thanks
us.
for having
us.
And best of luck
Yeah.
Thank you.
with the birth and
How are your whole
everything.
families? It must be... I mean, your dad's like...
Oh, I know. So
Oh, my dad is
excited.
doing my head in. He's saying, "Come on, Daisy, keep this up, keep
Yeah.
this up."
Oh, so
No,
nice.
they're very excited.
I bet they're
Yeah,
thrilled.
they are.
Congratulations. to
We're
both of you.
excited.
Yes.
Brilliant. Good luck with that.
Not nervous anymore, are you?
No, we feel better now.
Thank you so much for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every single day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you in the morning.
When did you start thinking something wasn't quite right then?
About December it was. I think it all started about October, where he said he'd had an accident and that he was in hospital.
This is just last year we're talking
Yeah.
about.
And all of a sudden, he just ring me up every day, about 3 times a day, and he'd tell me, he was all right. And
But he wouldn't tell you where he was.
He wouldn't
so he
tell
said
me
he was
where
in
he
the
was.
hospital, but he
Yes.
wouldn't let you know where.
No, we did try and find out.
But that's very odd, isn't it?
Yeah, we phoned all the hospitals, and he said he'd been in there a while and that, like I say, he'd had an accident, And then in December, he told me that he'd moved from one hospital to another hospital, and he'd signed himself in as a voluntary.
Psychiatric.
The psychiatric unit, he told you.
Well, there was a clue there, wasn't there? Right from the start.
What did you think then? Did you think this is very odd? I mean, why would you not tell me where he was?
He did show me paperwork when I first met him of him going in before. So I thought it's possible. But I didn't actually put 2 and 2 together.
And when did you put, and how did you put 2 and 2 together and nail him?
I think I just got fed up, and I said to Charlotte, let's just... every time he phoned me later on in the afternoon, the sat-nav would always say Barnes Hill.
So, sorry, you could hear his... He was phoning you from the car?
From the van.
From his van,
Yeah.
so you could hear the sat-nav?
Yes. And he always said to me, talk to me on the way back. So I'd talk to him on the way back, and then his final destination would be Barnes Hill. So I decided with Charlotte, I said, let's just go to Barnes Hill and see what's going on.
And how far away was that from where you live?
Like over 10 miles.
10
yeah,
miles.
Walked.
You walked there?
Yeah, we walked. Well, because obviously we didn't have enough money, to be honest, so Mum and me just walked there.
So you didn't know what you were looking for, what you were going to
No.
find?
No.
So did you ring the hospitals in that area
Yes.
first? Yeah.
Yes, we rung all the hospitals several times.
But
couldn't get anywhere.
No one heard of him.
So by then you're thinking,
It's just
he's
a bit
not in
weird.
hospital, this is
Yeah.
a bit odd. So you walked there, what
Yeah.
did you find?
Well, we went to the Asda's, and then Mum said walk up the hill a little bit. So we walked up the hill, and it was really weird. We passed the bingo place, and I was like, Mum, there he is. And he was outside his van.
So he's in his van?
Sat in his van with his leg out.
Yeah.
And obviously recognised his clothes. And I was like, Mum, there he is.
So what
So
did you
I
do?
said, Mum, just stay there and let me just go up and see him. And he...
Bet you was delighted to see you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He was so shocked.
And was he on his own?
No, there was another woman in the van.
Who he
A
said
blonde
was his
woman.
wife. The conversation went, when you met this other woman, you said what?
He tried to push us down the hill and away from her.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I just stood my ground, and I said, who is this woman?
She said.
And she came out all of a sudden, and she said, she showed me her ring and said, I'm his wife. We got married 2 weeks ago. I said, well, that's funny. I said, I've been married 2 years. And she just looked at me. I showed her my phone that had several missed calls from him that day, about 7 missed calls. And then he sort of dragged her away. I was devastated.
And have you heard from him since?
No.
Well, the two of you come in here today, and I could tell you're forlorn, you're downtrodden, you're very sad. I can feel the sadness here as well, and I'm detecting there's still an attachment there. But this amazes me. This amazes me because, Caroline, at best, this man is a fantasist, at best. At worst, he's a lying, cheating con man. Why do you still want anything to do with... Look, he's living in cloud cuckoo land. He's deceived you, he's lied. It's one thing having an affair, but he's got married to the other woman. What planet is he on?
I don't know. I don't know.
And
we've lost our home, everything. We're homeless.
Why would he marry her? I mean, you could probably understand, anybody would understand, you know, that he continued a relationship with her, you know?
But, I know, which is very odd.
And this is against the law.
Did you go to the police?
Yeah.
Yes.
we did, yeah.
It was, they came to us on the 27th of December, and I reported him. And
Was that hard for you?
Actually, no, it was nice to get it out, actually, and tell someone, you know, what we'd found. But they actually were lovely ladies, and they went straight there. And he was looking out the window, so I think he knew what was coming.
So he did admit bigamy.
Yeah.
He got a suspended jail term and 120 hours community service. Was that enough as far as you're concerned?
No, it's not enough at all. It's not. Not through...
He's totally wrecked our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the pain and the tears and everything.
And your confidence in anything and what you believe to be true, and it's just devastating for you. It's absolutely incredible. Do you think you could have coped with an affair more than this?
No. No, because I think the way he's done it, this lady is religious. She didn't actually do anything with him until she got married to him. he actually slept with me right the way up, even the night before we got married.
So he's cheated on
clever.
both of you, hasn't he?
He's clever.
Yeah, he's deceived both of you, her as well.
Karen and Charlotte, it is so sad for the two of you. What are you going to do now? What's next?
Find a home, go for a divorce.
Just try and start fresh, really.
Well, that's all you can do, but you've got each other and your great support, your daughter, I know, so you're not alone. I'm so sorry that's happened to you, but stay strong, look after your mum.
I will, don't worry.
You got married in '98 and you had Daisy. You all moved over to Dubai and kind of set up life there, and things were okay. He started working a bit more and the relationship became strained, and you moved back to the UK for a bit. And you separated for a period of time. 2015, you decided to make another go of it, and you were all going to move back to Dubai. So at that time then, I guess, when you were watching this film, what sort of state was your relationship in? How were things going?
Things were great. We had plans. Daisy was enrolled in college out there. We had an apartment out there.
Yeah.
Or so I thought. We were just waiting for Daisy to finish her GCSEs, and as soon as that was over, we were planning to move out there. So yeah.
And what sort of relationship did you have with him, Daisy?
At the time, it was a bit on and off, really, but when we were supposed to be moving out there, I'd trying to, like, rekindle the relationship a bit.
Yeah, I bet you were looking forward to that as well. So it's extraordinary then that in March 2016, you're watching Saturday Night Takeaway. There's you and your younger son as well. Where did you think Daniel was at this point?
We knew he was in Dubai.
Yeah.
Well, we thought he was in Dubai, just working and passing the time until we could get out there.
And the woman that he was pictured with, Susan, they had been together at the time. So what was their relationship? How long had they been together?
They'd been together, well, I'm not too sure exactly, probably about 4 or 5 years. I knew that they were living together, and I knew that sort of they'd set up home together. But he told me that because he wanted us all to be a family again, that he had separated from Sue, and they'd gone their separate ways.
So what did you think when you saw them together?
I didn't know what to think. It was just a shock. Daisy collapsed. As things sort of... we realised what was going on, and it was just total shock. It really was.
Well, you wrote on the show's Facebook page, I love the wedding and the surprise guests. I didn't love the sight of my husband, who's supposed to be working in Dubai, arriving on the arm of another woman, a woman he's supposed to have split from last year. We have a 15-year-old daughter who is in absolute bits. And, of course, the show couldn't possibly know any of that background.
Of course not. No, it was a knee-jerk reaction.
And very, very understandable.
Yeah.
So, and so what was your next step then? What did you do?
I tried messaging him. We used to talk on WhatsApp every day. I could see that he'd read my messages, but wasn't replying. He did finally phone me the day after, but it'd all gone viral in the meantime.
And so when did you find out the extent of what he'd done? Because at this point you're thinking, well, at worst, he's still having an affair with this lady. But then to go on and find out that he had married her at the same time as you, and she also wasn't aware of any of this?
Absolutely not, no. No. At first, he was insistent that it was just a blessing in the Seychelles, that they had to go through for appearance's sake in Dubai so they could live together. He didn't even tell the police that there was a proper marriage afterwards. So, yeah, it was all a big shock when it came out that there was a marriage after all.
And so, at what point did you manage to have contact with him, and what did he say?
It was a couple of days after that. I spoke to him on the phone, and he was still insisting there was nothing going on. He was still insisting it because he was the best man, he was best friends with Sue's sister. That even though he'd been holding hands with Sue, it was just to stop her from falling over when we were getting off the coach. He had an excuse for everything, he really did.
And you decided to go to the police?
Yes.
And why did you decide to do that?
For my own peace of mind and Daisy's peace of mind. Everybody was telling us they were married. Everybody was telling me that I was a jealous, bitter ex-wife, that we weren't married, so I had to prove it. So I went to the police.
You weren't expecting, as we said, that he has gone to prison for 6 months, and you weren't expecting it to be so severe.
No, we were expecting a suspended sentence, weren't we? And maybe community service. We weren't expecting him to go to prison at all.
How did you feel, Daisy, when you heard the length of the sentence?
Obviously, I went to the court hearings. I wanted to hear what he'd get, and when I heard that he got 6 months, I collapsed there and then.
Yeah. Bit of a shock for everybody. And have you spoken to him since he's been in prison?
Not yet, no.
No. Okay.
And what, once he served that 6 months, would you, I mean, Dad, I mean, you want to speak to him again?
I probably would, yeah, but he's given me a lot of issues in my own life that I need to focus on getting over as well. So.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And what about you, Helen? Because I suppose that really has got to dent your trust in people.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I am in a relationship. I have been for a little while, but the trust. You're questioning yourself all the time when when he tells you something like where he is and that, and you're questioning yourself. You're in two minds whether to believe him or not, and it does affect you. It really does, yeah.
And of course there is the lies to Susan as well.
Yes.
We contacted her and we invited her to come on today, but she very politely declined. She said, "It's over for me now. I've nothing else to say. I went to the press last year because I felt I had to clear my name because it seemed that people were actually thinking I wasn't married to him and had just thrown on a wedding dress for a Facebook photo opportunity, or worse still, they thought that I was in on all his lies. But justice has been served now, and this book is firmly closed for me." Another damaged person left in his wake.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, I hope you can both, move on from this in some way. And thank you very much for coming in and talking to us today.
Thank you.
All right.
We've had this conversation before with a lady called Ellie, who I know helped you with your diagnosis with your condition. This was her in 2014, I think it was, when she came in to discuss it. You had no idea, much like her, no idea what this was. When do you think you were first aware of it?
As a child, I used to suffer from urinary tract infections. I've got a slightly wonky kidney, which was causing issues there. So my mum was noticing sort of a fishy odour even back then, but we put it down to that. But as sort of time's gone on and now I've got my diagnosis, there's so many things that I'm thinking now.
Was it to do with that? Yeah.
So I can't really say definitely there was a time when I thought
it was that moment. But really tough for you. I mean, kids can be cruel at school at the best of times. So if you've got something like this, was school tough?
I wasn't the sort of kid that really fitted in anyway. If I had a chance to get up on stage and do something daft just to make other people laugh, that was me.
Right, okay.
And I was just really sort of anxious because it did crop up quite a bit at school.
And what did people say to you?
It was questions like, "Oh, you smell of fish today, Cal," and it's like, "Oh, I've had fish paste sandwiches for my lunch."
You make it up to cover it. Yeah.
And it was just, "Oh, sort of, have you been eating onions?" And I'm like, "No."
Oh gosh.
What about as you got older, sort of teenage years, that sort of thing?
As I sort of moved on to sixth form college and at university, it didn't really cause that much of a problem. I think I was a happier individual in myself.
Stress can help, can cause a little bit, can't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it can make it just a little worse.
The more stress you're under, whether it be physical or mental, it can actually really exacerbate it. It can make it a lot worse.
And we should point out at this point that this is nothing to do with personal hygiene in any case whatsoever.
No.
In fact, that makes it worse because you did go through phases of excessive showering.
Oh, ridiculous amounts of showering. And I think one of the problems was I was using a very strong body wash with eucalyptus and mint in it. And I'm not sure you can imagine combining that smell with onions and fish. And I can imagine it was quite uncomfortable for my colleagues at work.
Well,
to
it's
work in close quarters.
It's not there every day, and it is genetic. And so it's the way your body copes with proteins and enzymes and breaks things down.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing you can do about it. And you mentioned work. They've been really helpful, haven't they? I think one of the papers got it wrong and said because you were a radiographer in Oldham at the hospital.
Yeah.
And one of the papers said that you've been moved to the nights, but that's not the case.
I made the decision to go on to nights because at the time it was before my diagnosis, and I was really uncomfortable because I felt like I was making other people uncomfortable. Nobody turned around to me and said, you must go on nights, you've got to go and do this, that or the other. That was never said. It was a decision I made to make me happier.
And so, Michael, what's it like for you? Because you two met online originally, and so you started chatting online, met up for a first date. Did you notice it to begin with? What was that like in the day?
I honestly didn't notice it to begin with, no. It came as a bit of a surprise to me, when we first started seeing each other. I sort of caught a little bit of a whiff of it, but it was more sort of, it didn't seem strange to me at all.
Right,
yeah,
okay.
It sort of...
And it must be painful for you, sort of when she gets upset or comes home from work or somebody said something or just those moments. It must be difficult for you because you love her so much to see her going through that pain.
Very difficult, yeah. It makes me not angry. That's a bit too strong a word, but it does upset me a little bit. Yeah.
Well, people immediately jump to conclusions they don't understand.
Yeah.
And I suppose really because there are so few people in the world with this, it's not something that we see or hear of very often. And as I said, it was actually Ellie James on April the 8th in 2014. She came on this show as an article that was written off the back of that interview that made you think, oh my goodness me, this could very well be what I have.
Yeah, definitely. There was several other things as well on the internet, and the more I researched about it, the more I thought, well, it's not just a fishy odour, it can be various other odours, and it isn't all the time. There are some people it does affect them 24/7, and that must be an absolute nightmare for them. I'm lucky in the sense that, as far as I know, it doesn't affect me 24/7. But it did make getting the diagnosis that little bit more complicated.
And you can't cure it, but you can control it slightly when it comes to foods. There are certain foods that will trigger it more.
Yeah. Anything that's high in a chemical called choline. But I was even reading up on that recently, and that's not always a surefire thing. You could cut the majority of choline out of your diet and still produce the smell, and it's a really hard diet. I tried doing it for a week to cut pretty much everything out, and I was, you get to 36 and you've developed your eating habits by that point, and it's hard.
Well,
thank you for
coming here and talking about it once more. More people know about it. You might help someone else the way Ellie did you.
Thank you.
I've been
guys.
Absolutely amazed by the amount of response that I've had. It's been awesome.
Thank you both. Thank you very much.
But first, 2 years ago, Deirdre sat on our sofa to reveal that after experiencing symptoms, doctors discovered a cluster of malignant cells in her right breast.
So Deirdre underwent successful treatment for breast cancer, but her recent annual checkout revealed early signs that, sadly, it has returned.
Never one to shy away from difficult conversations, ever, actually, Deirdre.
Well,
ever.
it's my job in a way, isn't it? That's what I do, is help people have difficult conversations. So if I can't have my own, it'd be a poor show.
But it is a truly amazing thing that you're sitting here now and we're going to talk about.
Thank you.
It
Thank
really
you.
is. Deirdre's with us now, as well as Dr. Nigat, who's joining us this morning. Good morning. So what happened, Deirdre?
So because I had breast cancer 2 years ago, I now get an annual mammogram, and totally to my surprise, the mammogram showed up that I've got, it's a different breast, it's the left breast this time.
Yeah.
And there was it's tiny, but malignant cancer in there. So unfortunately, I have got to have a lumpectomy and followed by radiotherapy. But I mean, I feel lucky, it's been caught early. The treatment's happening very rapidly. I should have surgery on October the 11th, which is like in no time.
Wow.
And this is all on the NHS, so I just think I am so lucky. And it just could be so much worse.
When you went along, had you had any symptoms, Deirdre? Nothing like the first time
No,
round?
nothing. Well, and also, to be honest, I think the symptoms I had the first time around, I think they were a coincidence. They weren't actually a symptom of the cancer itself, as it turned out. But it happened that efficient GP practice put me on the cancer pathway, so I got very rapid check and treatment that time.
So you haven't felt run down, you haven't felt any different
I haven't felt
at all?
run down, I haven't felt tired, I haven't had any discomfort.
Pains.
If I did a self-check, I couldn't feel anything because it's so tiny, there's nothing to feel. So it's purely down to having the mammogram that showed it up. And then you get referred back, and I had an ultrasound and a biopsy, which then revealed that it was actually a cancer.
And what went through your mind when that diagnosis happened?
Well, this time, to be honest, shock.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because I
like-
felt fine.
Yeah.
And I was just so taken aback. I just wasn't expecting it at all. And I suppose I just want to bring this in early, because my big point about this, why I really want to talk about it, is that on the NHS system, I'm not sort of criticising it, breast check, mammograms stop, the call for mammogram stops when you're 70. The last one you get is when you're 70. I happen to have been in a cohort of women that got missed. There was a big accident happened that year, and we didn't get called. So I hadn't had, when I got last time, you know, I hadn't had a mammogram since I was 67, so 10 years had gone by. And I hadn't given it a thought. I hadn't thought, oh, no one's called me for a mammogram. Oh, I ought to go, and I didn't know anything about it, really. But what I now know is that if you're over 70, you can request a mammogram on the NHS, and you should get one every 3 years. And I just want to say to everyone out there, please, if you're a woman over 70, request your mammogram, you know, because the reason why I've had quite an easy time, and I'm just having a lumpectomy last time and this time, because it was caught so early. You know, if it's missed for, you know, years, you're so much more likely to have a mastectomy or worse.
So the treatment you will have for this lumpectomy is similar to what you've had?
It's same as I had
one.
before, so it's just, I mean, it was same surgeon as it happens. It was just a tiny little thing, you know, so they take it out, followed by radiotherapy, which is completely painless and easy. And that is just so brilliant. And compared with what happens if it's become more advanced, it's transformative.
Dr. Nigger, time really is of the essence here, isn't it?
Yeah.
What would you recommend to people?
I was actually saying to Deirdre backstage, we had a kiss and a cuddle this morning, and I was saying 2 years ago, I sat on the sofa when you first came up with the very early signs, and then 2 years later, we'd come back and it's in the other breast. And actually, this is well within what we would see in the remit of someone who's had cancer, and then they will find that it's in the other and the boob as well, or sometimes in the same boobs. We do have two breasts. And men, there's a small proportion of men that also get breast cancer. So I would say to anybody watching, self-checking is where it starts. So regardless of who you are, what gender, lifelong, once a month. If it's women, if you're still having your periods, then I would say a week after you've had your bleed, having a good feel around. But as Deirdre has just said, that actually she didn't pick anything up. And so that's why going to your mammogram appointments is so great. So the screening programme on the NHS starts at the age of 50 and you get invited every 3 years. But it does stop at 70. But you are absolutely entitled to request that after the age of 70, that you still get called every 3 years. And that's simply making a phone call to your local breast screening clinic. And the statistics are amazing. Through breast screening, so I looked at the data from Cancer Research UK, and we found that in 2021, 2022, we don't have the figures for 2023, 2024 fully yet, but 11,000 women were picked up with breast cancer who had no symptoms. So they didn't even feel a breast lump.
Nothing at all.
So 11,000 women's lives were saved. And actually, that could be very, very early. So time is of the essence, picking it up, going for your screening. And we know that actually it's not the best test for younger women, but women over 50, it is as good as we're going to get at the moment. And there's always constantly research and data. And 5-year survival is nearly 99, 100% post-cancer diagnosis. So women are now outliving their diagnosis of breast cancer,
Which is great.
Great.
Why does it stop at 70?
There's lots of different factors. It's because the idea is that the estrogen that affects our cells, well, the effect is lessened as we get older.
Right.
That's not the case for everybody because we make estrogen through our adipose or fat tissue, and our
Sure.
brain constantly makes it as well when we're postmenopausal. And also the idea is that there was a cost implication to it, we have to say that, and demand on services. And actually we found that the rates of cancer were decreasing in women over the age of 70. So it's multifactorial, but those are some of the sort of key highlights.
But
I think
actually,
also as an individual, I just want to say, yes, I mean, I understand about the economics of the NHS. As an individual, get your check.
Too
you know?
right.
Yes,
And make that
It's your
request.
health.
And
yeah.
actually, we do have more information. We've got information about how to check yourself. You can head out to This Morning app, where Dr. Sarah has a video that tells you all you need to know.
Deirdre, obviously, we're here and we're with you every step of this way. I wonder how your family were when they found out, because it's a terrifying time from the outside. You're amazingly positive, and you always have been, but it's scary, right?
Yeah, I think it was a shock to us all, because when I went for the initial check and even had the biopsy, they were so confident that there was nothing there because it's so tiny. So it was a shock for me, and obviously it was a shock for them for me to suddenly have to say, well, I'm sorry, folks, it turns out I have actually got cancer. But, you know, I've got 2 daughters who are just great, and, you know, they're just dropping everything to be supportive and drive me to hospital and things like that. I am known as a difficult person to help.
We've probably got a phone line for that, Deirdre.
So, you know, so initially I was saying to my daughter, who's taking a day's compassionate leave in order to drive me to hospital, and I was saying, no, it'll be fine. I can get there on the train and attack. She's saying, do you actually want to be alone? Well, no. Well,
Shut up then. Listen, I'm coming.
Just let me come and help. You know?
Yeah.
They're good. No, they're great. And I think, like me, I think it helps them to actually be involved, do something, is great. So, no, the family are just wonderful.
Well, thank you.
And I'm lucky that I've got family
course.
to be supportive, because I really feel for people who have to go through this sort of thing really
Thank you
alone.
for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out, and we'll see you in the morning.